Good evening, family. Welcome to IKG's Wisdom Wednesday. I am your host, Sister Ajwa, and we are happy to have you here tonight for what we know will be a very important and very informative Wisdom Wednesday presentation. As you all know, Wisdom Wednesday is a lecture series hosted by IKG, held every third Wednesday of the month. And we are delighted that you are joining us. As always, we ask that you let us know where you're checking in from. So go ahead and drop your city or country, because we know we're international. Go ahead and drop that in the chat. And while you're doing that, just want to remind you of some of the basic housekeeping. So this is a Zoom webinar, so you are automatically muted and your cameras are off. We ask that you engage with us via the chat. And at the end, we do have a Q&A session. So if you have a question for our speaker, you can put that question in the Q&A box. So we do ask that questions go in the Q&A box so that we make sure they get asked. Want to also ensure that I invite you out to some of our programming that IKG hosts. As you know, we are in our 39th season of the Egypt on the Potomac field trip. This is a guided tour or field trip through Washington, D.C., where you get to discover secrets hidden in plain sight. These field trips are offered on the first Saturday of the month up through November. And we have a 10 a.m. and a 2 p.m. Option for you. So we encourage you to go to ikgculturalresourcecenter.com to sign up. And before we get started with our speaker, I do want to shout out the family that's in the room with us tonight. So we have family checking in from Upper Marlboro, Lawrenceville, Georgia. Welcome. Of course, DC. DC has to be in the building because we're based in DC. So welcome, family. Hetepu to our Saraset family that is checking in. Greetings from Silver Spring. Thank you for joining us. We have family from Richmond, Waldorf, Maryland. Thank you for joining. Chicago, welcome, Chi-Town. Yonkers, New York. All right, welcome. Chicago again, thank you for joining us. Prairie, Montana, all right, or East Prairie, Montana, thank you. Mississippi, Bowie, all right, Bowie again. DC, Laurel, Maryland, Arlington, Virginia, Atlanta, Georgia, Brooklyn in the house. We have ATL again, Decatur, Georgia, Baltimore, South Carolina, and of course, you can't never leave out Philly. We have Philly in the house. So welcome, family. Continue dropping in where you're checking in from. We really love the energy, and we're so excited that IKG Wisdom Wednesday is all across not only the country, but the world. So let your friends and family know every third Wednesday, this is where you need to be. All right. So for tonight's program, we have a very appropriate topic on emergency preparedness by Nana Kwao Ajiman. Tonight's session is going to invite you to consider a more holistic view of preparedness, one that acknowledges the importance of both external tools and internal strength. Tonight, we'll dive deep into the often overlooked aspects of mental, emotional, and spiritual resilience. Through guided breathing techniques, physical conditioning tips, spiritual practices, and strategies for strengthening community connections, this presentation will help you build a state of readiness that begins within. In any crisis, your most important resource is you. So we hope that you are prepared to reflect, engage, and leave with a deeper understanding of how to prepare your entire self, not just your go bag. Our speaker is Nana Kwao Ajiman, who has been organizing in the African community in the DMV and New York City area for the past 37 years. He is also an Okomfo to various shrines. He has been married for 35 years with 4 boys, two daughter-in-laws, and five grandchildren. He is also a life coach. Further, he currently manages the Encobia Adolescents Male Rites of Passage program. I'm going to ask Nana Kwao to come onto the screen. All right, and family, join me in welcoming him to our great space here of IKG Wisdom Wednesday. All right, we got Arizona checking in, Baba. All right, so they're all over the place, Baba, here to hear what you have to say. So thank you. We're excited to have you here tonight, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. It's from Arizona, from all around the country. Midasi P for joining us. Midasi P for Wisdom Wednesdays, for asking me to hop on and do this. And Tony Browder, thank you very much. Um, so this is really apropos. And I want to say, Nana Ajua asked me about this months ago, right? And it happens to fall in right when DC is under, occupation from the National Guard. So that's very interesting. So now, Ajay, I don't know what you saw, 6 months ago, but you saw something, for it to fit in right exactly at this time. Also, the song you played in the beginning really fits in. Fela Kuti song, Water No Get Enemy, is crucial, right? Not only is about water rights, but it's also how we have to be. We have to be like water, right? We have to be fluid, flexible, hard when we have to be, right? Destructive when we have to be, and healing when we have to be. So that Water No Get Enemy is really crucial song. Medasi P for playing that song. All right, cool. All right, let me share my screen. Do, do. Let me see if this will work actually better. Nope. Let me do it this way. All right. All right. Can anybody see my Audra? Can you see the screen?
Yes, we see it.
All right, perfect. All right. All right. Who am I? Now Ajua gave me an intro. I'll add some stuff to it. Um, I'm a lifelong learner, right? I always challenge myself to be better at whatever I think I need to do, right? To challenge my fears, right? And I'll give you an example. I almost drowned when I was around 10 years old. You jump off the diving board and I try to make it to the edge. I couldn't make it. And I'm like, you know, doing this and the lifeguard blows the whistle. This is at Jones Beach in Long Island. Anybody from New York, right? And the lifeguard jumps in, pulls me out of the water, and no mouth to mouth station or anything like that, but it just pulled me out. I was like, oh my God. And so from that point on, I just developed a fear of water. And I said, around 16, I said, I have to conquer this fear. And I took a swimming classes and it didn't work. In college, I took swimming classes, it didn't work. And I took another set of swimming classes at a YMCA, it didn't work. And then finally, I took some swimming classes when I took two of my sons, Omoa and Cesar, to a swimming class. And, I asked the teacher, can I swim with you guys two at the same time? So I was there with all these kids who were like 13 and 10 and 6 learning how to swim. And they took me to the side of on a separate lane. And one of the instructors was like, okay, well, I'll show you what to do. And they were like, okay, they told me what to fix and all kinds of things like that, right? And then they said, but what you have to do is you must do this 3 times a week. You must practice this 3 times a week, if not four, right? You don't have to go, you're not an Olympian, so you don't have to go more than four, but minimum 3 times a week for you to improve. And that was crucial, right? And now I swim all the time, right? And another one of my fears was, so I swim in the pool all the time. My daughter-in-law gave me some tips. My other friend gave me some tips, right? And another fear I had was swimming in the open water. And so I was like deadly afraid of the open water. And then so I would see some people swimming in at National Harbor, right? And I was like, who the hell was swimming this water? It's so nasty. I will never get in there. And then that was enough for me to challenge myself. And so I went out. I found out who was swimming out there, right? And I was trying to practice for triathlon, and so I contacted the people that were organizing the swim in the National Harbor, and I went out there. The first day I went, I was scared crapless, and I went out 10 feet and came back 10 feet and came. I said I'm not going any further than this, and then I went back out again and again, and then I was able to do a whole mile. At National Harbor, they had all these big buoys around. You had to do a whole circuit, and I was able to do a whole mile out there and stuff. But it required me to conquer a fear, right? And this is apropos because to what I'm saying here today about emergency preparedness, and we'll get to that. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Typical model for emergency preparedness is you focus on major disasters, okay? And you focus on what you have to carry with you. So major disasters, earthquakes, hurricanes, food shortages for whatever reason, right? We can name more, right? When Katrina happened, everybody was like, "Oh, we have to get emergency preparedness done," right? When the Y2K was coming, right? Us in New York, when Y2K was coming, we were like, "Oh shoot, we have to get ready." So we're doing survival training with Aton Edwards. We were doing all kinds of training, walking from Brooklyn to Manhattan and just to practice, right? And we had our 72-hour bags we're carrying with us to see can we carry these bags with us and everything, right? So, but that's focused on a particular emergency, right? It's on a particular emergency. We typically will jump and say, "Oh, we have to get prepared," right? But we forget about what must be done day to day. What must be done at least 3 times a week, right? All right, cool. All right, so let's get let's get the easy stuff out of the way. All right, in a 72-hour bag, hygiene items, water, medication, important documents, weapon, any kind of weapon that you might need, multi-tool, flashlight, batteries, portable power source, rope, like portable power source, like a power source for your what do you call it? For your laptop or for your cell phone or whatever you want to power up, right? Rope, right? Food, dried food, right? Excuse me, I may have spell that wrong, but tourniquet, ace bandage, gauze, right? But all these things in a 72-hour bag, you must know how to use them, right? And this is another problem with the typical emergency preparedness. People will get this stuff and will not use it. So you will have a multi-tool that you'll never use, right? You'll have MREs, right? Dried food, meals ready to eat, right? You won't eat them, right? And then so when an emergency actually happens and you try to eat it, your stomach cramps up, right? You get diarrhea because you never try to eat that food, right? So anything that you store, right, for an emergency, you must rotate through it, right? The medication, you must rotate through that medication because that medication will expire, right? So you'll put medication in a 72-hour bag, and no emergency happens for 5 years, and that medication has expired because you never cycled through the medication, right? So continuously you must continuously use what you have in your 72-hour bag, right? And you could put yourself on a schedule, right? Every month I will eat this or I will use this medication and I will replace it, right? So you want to cycle through it, use it, replace it, use it, replace it. It cannot be a stagnant bag, right? Also, you have to practice walking around with that 72-hour bag, right? Because don't assume that you'll be able to, if it's an emergency, don't assume that you will be able to drive, right? So if your 72-hour bag weighs 30 pounds, can you walk with a 30-pound bag, for 5 miles or 10 miles or 20 miles, right? If you can't, then you got to figure out how to lighten your 72-hour bag, right? So a lot of those things, people will have a 72-hour bag and they'll put it right in by the front door or in the closet, and they'll never walk with it, right? They'll never practice with it, right? So similarly too, for your typical contents of a personal kit, and there's a link in the chat that Baba Nubian from Chicago sent me. It's called Dark Angels. It's a very good kit that you can get, right? For like personal emergency kit, right? So please look at that site. Um, but a multi-tool, medication, rope, some very basic stuff, right? First aid stuff that you want to have in your personal kit, right? Again, you have to use this, okay? Now be mindful. If you have a multi-tool that you're carrying around with you, what happens if you have to go to a place like if you have to travel and you have the multi-tool in your pocket, right? And you're late for a flight, and then you're like, you go through the airport like you can't carry this, through security, right? And so be aware of that kind of stuff. Also, with your let's say a multi tool, um, if you go to court, right, and as you're walking through the court, there's a security right section, and you have to go through the machine, the security apparatus, whatever, and they may take it from you, right? I've had that happen to a friend of mine, right? Where they took his multi tool. All right. I had a multi tool that I tried to use, it didn't work, right? I tried to use a plier portion of the multi tool, and all it did was just strip the nut I was trying to remove, right? So anything that you have in a kit, you must use it. Otherwise, it's worthless to you. Okay. All right. I also put a link to flashlights also. All right, so you have to have a good flashlight, a very strong flashlight. This link to the flashlight is just a basic. I just went on YouTube, found a link that something that a site where I've gone to before to look at reviews, right? But do your own testing. Buy a flashlight, right? Go out in the dark and test it, right? Stomp on the flashlight. Use a flashlight to hit on something, right? Because if you don't do these things with everything you have, it is worthless to you. What if you hit something with a flashlight and the flashlight breaks? That means it's not a good flashlight, right? So you must use it. Put it underwater, right? Is your flashlight waterproof? If it says it's water resistance, waterproof, put it in underwater for the amount of time that it says. Take it out, see if it still works, right? You got to test it out. All right. The multi-tool, I mentioned the multi-tool before, but Letterman is one of the best multi-tools I've ever used. It's like the go-to. It may have changed over the years what's the go-to, but I still trust the Letterman. Okay. All right. And the first aid kit, again, there's a link to Dark Angels, but build your own. It's better for you to build your own kit. Okay. Build your own kit, your own. Get a bag, and you put the stuff in there that you know that you need. Okay. And so now you have a first aid kit. Do you know how to apply the first aid? Right. So you got to make sure you go to a class where you're learning how to apply first aid. Okay. On the link, I put a link to Kofi Handon's Hand and Arms, where he does weapon training. He's based in DC, and he does a stop the bleed class where you have to learn how to stop somebody's bleeding badly. You learn how to do that, how to stop the bleeding, right, from your personal kit, right? So all these things you have to practice. If you don't practice it, it's literally worthless. All right. All right. Cool. All right. All right. So we know that we have all the big emergencies, earthquakes and stuff like that, but the majority of us, and you know what? I'll say this today, and then tomorrow there'll be an earthquake in DC, right? So, excuse me, or wherever you live in Palcho. But the majority of us are not in earthquakes. The majority of us are not going to be in a hurricane, right? But the majority of us are more likely to be in a fire, more likely to be a victim of a violent crime, sick with a particular kind of disease, right? Or sick with, just like asthma, let's say asthma attack. You might get into a car accident, I've been in several car accidents. Interaction with the police. I've been stopped by the police at least 3 times, right? I was arrested once, right? So all of these things that you have to deal with on a daily basis that can actually kill you, that's what you really want to focus on for emergency preparedness. Are you ready to deal with these things? Are you ready to deal with fires, potential violent crime? Can you recognize the potentially somebody coming at you, and what do? Right? Sickness and disease, right? Can you deal with whatever sickness you have? Can you deal with it without the medication that's required that you need, right? Can you use herbs instead, right? Have you tried using herbs instead? So I'm asthmatic, right? And so I have my emergency inhaler with me, right? But I also practice a lot of breathing techniques to help me calm myself down when asthma is flaring up, right? And then they got some teas I take also. And my son makes all kinds of, my son Amor, he makes all kinds of teas also for asthma. All right. Because he also deals with some of it also. And so he makes his own teas and stuff for that, besides having the emergency inhaler. So high blood pressure, right? So you have your high blood pressure medication. Well, do you practice things that will reduce your need for the high blood pressure medication, right? So these are the kind of things that you have to practice on a regular basis. All right. In the car accidents, right? Do you know defensive driving, right? Do you get road rage? Do you get angry, right? So somebody cuts you, right? Right? How often do you use your cell phone, right? Excuse my spelling there. Your cell phone while driving, right? Not good. I'm guilty of it many times, and I tell myself all the time it's not good, right? Um, do you have an emergency kit in the car, right? And I have an emergency kit in our SUV. We have an emergency kit in the back of the car, right? Do you have a flat tire kit, right? How long can you drive with flat tire if you have to drive a flat tire? What do? Right? All those things you got to practice. All right. All right. Interaction with the police. Do you know how to deal with poor policing? Right. Um, I remember I was coming from Sekofa Cafe with a few friends, and I got into my car. I drive down the block, and I make a right turn, and sirens go off, and they pull me over. I'm like, "What's going on?" They said you were speeding, and I was like, I was so shocked that they told me I was speeding. I lost my regular response with the police, which is yes, sir, no, sir, what do you want? It's a good day today. That's my usual response with the police, right? But it was so incredulous that they told me I was speeding. It made no sense at all. I said, what? And that response changed how they interacted with me, right? They told me to get out of the car, right? And then they asked, can they search me? And I was like, no, you can't search me. I haven't done anything. And they put me in handcuffs and start patting me down and so forth, right? And I they put me on the sidewalk while they searched the car and stuff like that. And I was like, just like, how did I get here, right? Now, besides knowing that, and by the way, every officer was black, like four brothers and one sister, okay? And I was like, as I'm sitting on the sidewalk handcuffed, I'm sitting here like, how did I get here? And I was analyzing it. And I said, part of it was my first reaction was, what? Like, what the F are you stopping me for? Because it made no sense of what they told me, right? And so that was my first reaction. So, what do I have control now? If I had controlled myself, would I have changed the outcome? I don't know, right? I don't know. But at least I know that my regular reaction that I usually have with the police, I don't get any response. I don't get handcuffed, anything like that. Right? So I usually go, yes, sir, Uncle Tom, whatever BS I have to do, I do it to conform whatever the police wants. I never get an issue. But that one time where I had the attitude, right? And this is part of emergency preparedness. Why? Because if it decided to pull out a gun, what could happen to me next, right? Who knows, right? If they wanted to beat the crap out of me, who knows, right? Right? Poor police officers have no control of their own self, no control of their emotions and so forth, right? And so right now in DC, You have all of this National Guard out here, right? They're all extra hyped up, right? And so our goal is not to interact with them in any kind of way, right? You just walk on by. Now, if you want to videotape something that's happening, that's fine, right? But your goal is not to interact with them. Give them a reason why they should stay here longer, right? Even though they have their own reason, right? But I know one thing is they want to provoke us, right? To respond in a particular way, so that now they can provide a reason why they can stay longer, right? All right. Now, again, I'm not saying that they don't have their own reason why not they'll stay here longer. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that what we have control of. All right. All right. Key items you can control in an emergency: stress, your mind, your emotions, your body, fear, your family, your neighbors. Right. All right. So somebody either I'll open up for any questions right now, and at the same time, I'm going to ask you, how can you control your neighbors? Because a lot of times you say, oh, all I can do is control myself. But how can you control your neighbors? So that's a quiz question for you on the put it on the chat. And Mama Nana Ajua, if you see anybody give an answer, please read out the answer.
Will do. And can you repeat the directions again or the
Yes.
question?
So put on the chat, how can you control your neighbors? Everybody will say, yeah, I know how to control my body. I know how to control my emotions, my mind, my family. I have more control of my family, maybe. I know how to control my fear, maybe, my stress. But how do you control your neighbors?
So we have neighbors be pleasant and helpful, but speak less about one's personal business. Another person having a cordial and respectful relationship, and another person regular engagement outside of emergency situations.
Okay, perfect. Exactly. Exactly. We got to know our neighbors. And we live in a society where you don't have to know your neighbors at all, right? If you go back down south, right, decades ago, everybody knows everybody, right? Even when I was growing up in Brooklyn, in the when was this? It had to be early '80s, right? In early '80s, my parents knew the neighbors and stuff. We knew the neighbors, right? When my wife was growing up in Harlem and Queens, they knew the neighbors and so forth, right? So, but nowadays we barely know our neighbors, right? So get to know your neighbors, right? That's a way of controlling your neighbors, because you knowing them, one, you know who they are, you know what kind of person they are, you know who this person is, right? And an emergency occurs, then you get to know, oh, this neighbor is going to behave this way. So I know how to talk to that neighbor, right? How you talk to someone helps you control that person. It's important. Okay. All right. All right. We're going to go into stress, mind, and fear and emotions later. Okay. All right. And family too. All right. Control of mind, body, and spirit. Learn breathing techniques that manage stress and heal you at the same time. All right. So a lot of these things that we have to do, right, to prepare ourselves for an emergency, right, it's also preparing our bodies and healing our bodies in general. So everything I want to mention here, it applies to just being a healthier person in general. All right. All right. If you believe in the creator, the deities, ancestors, I don't care what your spiritual system is, right? What your religion is, doesn't matter. Have a practice of retrieving guidance on how to manage stress, how to manage your emotions, right? When you're pouring libation or you're praying, whatever you're doing to connect to the creator, right? If you believe in it, there's a universal force and not a particular creator. When you speak to that universal force, doesn't matter. Ask, how can I manage my emotions? And listen to what answer you get. Ask, how can I manage my stress? And listen to the answers you get. It's everybody will get a unique answer, unique to them. Okay, but this is important, and a lot of us on this in this talk have gone to Combs, Bembe's, and stuff, and things of that. you know, interact with the Bosum from the perspective of how do you develop yourself? How do you grow to become a stronger, better person, right? Managing your emotions, managing stress, and so forth. All right. Regular exercise, stretching daily, walking, cycling, martial arts, swimming, weightlifting, dancing, Pilates, yoga, running. I miss a few, right? But you want to do these, right? Now, stretching, you want to do it almost every single day. You want to stretch almost every single day. All right. And I'll tell you a story when I was doing a lot of lifting and a lot of biking combined together and swimming too. I was doing all kind of, right? And my back went out. And my back would go out literally every 6 months or so, my back would go out. And I'm like, I can't walk, you know? I'll be bent over. It's specifically my right side of my lower back, not my left side, only my right side, right? And I can't move well, right? And I would go to a massage therapist and they would do stuff on my back, and then 2 days later I'd be okay. And this one time, it was actually last year, right? My back went out, and I went to a massage therapist, and you know, working on my back, to try and get me mobile again. And she asked me, I said, how'd you get to this position? I said, I don't know, this happens every 6 or 8 months. And, I was working out and stuff like that. And she was like, well, how often do you stretch? I was like once a week, maybe. And she was like, are you nuts? You got to stretch every day. You must stretch every day. And that's it. And so I started, so since last year September, I've been basically stretching every day. I might miss a day or two, but basically I stretch every single day. In the evening, I do 25 minutes to half an hour of stretching, right? And I follow an app, right? My cousin gave me an app called Down Dog Yoga, and I there's like 8 different variations of yoga you can do in that thing. I do this thing called Yin Yoga every evening for 25 minutes or 30 minutes. And now what I've realized that it does also, right? Not only does it keep my body limber, but it also increases blood flow to particular parts of the body that's really important. All right. All right. So specifically for men and women, good stretching will increase blood flow to the hip area, to the groin area, right? And you need good blood flow there for a healthy body, right? So not only are you ready for an emergency because you stretch and then you say, oh, shoot, we have to run out of here. And you don't pull a muscle because you're rushing out, right? In an emergency, but you're also healing your body and making your body healthy at the same time. All right. For exercise, you want to do some kind of vigorous exercise. Again, everything I'm telling you, please talk to your doctor before you do any other stuff. Okay. Make sure you're okay before you do it. Okay. All right. So make sure I say that, right? Talk to a doctor. Make sure you're okay to do all this stuff. All right. So, vigorous exercise. You want to do about, they recommend about 75 minutes minimum of vigorous exercise. But basically, you don't want to do you want to do no more than 2 big sessions of vigorous exercise. And the other kinds of exercise you're doing should be nice and easy. Okay. So if you're exercising, for example, if you're exercising 5 times a week, three of those times is nice and easy, right? It might double your heart rate, right? So if your resting heart rate is 60, then your heart rate might go to 120. That's like easy going. Okay. If your heart rate goes to like 95% of your max heart rate or 90% of your max heart rate, and it's easy for you to find your max heart rate online, right? And you can test it out too. It's all based on your physical ability, right? It doesn't. So it's your max heart rate is supposed to decline go lower and lower with age, but with regular exercise, your max heart rate will not decline as much as people think, right? You'll have a maximum heart rate of somebody who's 40 and you'll be 55, or somebody who's 30 and you'll have a maximum heart rate of somebody who's 30. Okay. But the main thing is you want to know what your maximum heart rate is, and you want to bring your body up to close to that maximum heart rate at least twice a week for about 25 minutes, 35 minutes a session. okay? For about twice a week. That's important, okay? And of course, you want to take a, like every 3 or 4 weeks, take 1 week off where everything is easy, right? Everything is easy that and so forth. All right, cool. Weightlifting is important, right? Especially somebody my age. I'm 57, right? Somebody my age, that means my bone density is changing, right? And for women also, weightlifting is absolutely important, right? It also is really important if you fall, right? As we're getting older, when you're lifting weights, your bones are getting stronger, your muscles are getting stronger. So if you fall, it's less likely for you to be hurt, right? And if you do get injured, my friends who exercise on a regular basis, when they get an injury, they heal much faster. Okay? All right. So let me see. Did I forget anything about exercising? Okay, yes. Regarding exercise, again, this is crucial because exercise regulates stress, helps prevent diabetes, it helps prevent dementia, right? So now all these things that's going to get you ready for an emergency is getting you ready for life, right? So a lot of times when we talk about emergency preparedness, we don't talk about it preparing you for life, right? So regular exercise minimizes dementia, Alzheimer's, okay? Because it helps manage the blood sugar in your body, right? Okay, so regular exercise helps manage stress, helps manage your emotions. It also helps you. You're putting your stress in your body to a particular point, right? And you're practicing stress in your body so that when you get in a stressful situation during an emergency, you've been there already. Your heart has pumped hard, really hard already, and so you're used to that feeling, and it won't throw you off as much. Okay. All right. All right. So let's go. My thing is hiding this part right here. All right, fasting. All right, choose a day to do a 24-hour fast. Try intermittent fasting. Try several days of fasting, right? And you could vary the fasting however you want. I'm not going to prescribe how you do the fasting, but practice fasting, okay? It's really important. Practice fasting. All right? All right. Now, some of you guys are saying, hey, wait a second. He didn't mention any breathing techniques. It's coming. All right. Any questions so far? I'll take a pause for any questions or any comments.
Okay. Let me go through some of there are some comments. So just want to start off, a lot of people were agreeing that back in their day, Chicago, Brooklyn, that they did know their neighbors. Um, a photo was asking if you could please describe the Japanese walking technique.
Okay, sure. So Japanese walking technique is a way to increase your heart rate while you're walking, right? So what you do is and you can vary how you do this, right? It's not set in stone, okay? All right. And so you can look online, Japanese walking technique, but in general, let's say you're going out for a 30-minute walk, you would walk easy, nice and easy for 3 minutes. Then you walk really fast for 3 minutes. Then you walk nice and easy for 3 minutes. And you repeat the process for that 30 minutes. That's basically it. All right. And they found that people who do the Japanese walking technique versus people who just do regular walking, the people who do the Japanese walking technique are much fitter, have a better VO2 max, and VO2 max is how you is a measure of how your body manages oxygen, right? And so, and it's VO2 max. People with a higher VO2 max typically have a higher lifespan. Okay, so the Japanese walking technique is almost like, I don't know if you've heard of HIIT, high interval. I forgot technique training, whatever. I forgot the exact acronym, but it's like a HIIT technique for walking, right? So you don't have to run. So it's low impact. So you don't have to run. 3 minutes easy, 3 minutes fast, or fast walking, and then 3 minutes easy. You just repeat the process. All right. Any other questions, comments? And thank you, Mama Foiwa.
No. Keep.
All right, cool. Let's continue. All right. All right, situational awareness. This is part of emergency preparedness. Are you situationally aware of your environment? Right now, everything I'm mentioning right here is a whole course by itself. Is a whole class by itself. I'm doing this fast. Okay, everything I'm mentioning. So we actually do a situational awareness class by itself, right? Where we can spend 1 to 2 hours. Okay. All right. When entering a room, restaurant, hotel, hospital, club, office, katha wakatha, which is equivalent to etc., right? Estimate the number of people in the room, right? Where are the exits, the windows, drywall versus plaster walls, cinder block walls, right? Why am I saying, what's the difference between, why am I saying, do you know the drywall versus a plaster cinder block wall? That's a quiz question for everybody. What should I know? Why would I want to know if a wall is drywall or plaster or cinder block? You're going to get 3 gold stars if you get this right. Put it on the chat.
Okay. Um, we're getting Ali, you can get through the wall. Deidre, fireproof. Janice, shooting situation. Mark, escape options. Queen Mother Mayata, heat. Nubian, Malik, I'm not sure what that says. Okay, let's see. Sachet, easier to penetrate. Plaster, Ricky, in case of explosion, question mark. Afudua, to be able to break through the wall if necessary. Carolyn, break through the wall. Karen, it's easier to break out. Miata, Wi-Fi, cellular phone usage.
Man, that's you guys came up with some stuff I didn't even think about. That's awesome. The cellular phone usage, I didn't think about that. You're right. In a plaster wall, right, more likely to have a problem with cellular phone usage because they use the wire mesh, right? And the wire mesh creates a blockage for the cell phone signal. That's awesome one, right? But everybody else, you guys get gold stars. Awesome job. Perfect. Perfect answers. All right. And Baba Nubian is one of my trainers from back in the day. I'll tell you a story about Baba Nubian. But actually, I can't tell the story because it's going to reveal some of his secret stuff. I'll think about it. I'll give a variation of one of these stories. All right. What are the emergency procedures of the particular establishment? Do you know it? Right. How do you on the in the hotel or in the on the restaurant? There's a little map that says in case of emergency, it shows you what to do. Do you look at that when you come in? Right. That's important. Right. Right. Who looks dangerous or problematic when you walk in? Right. Pay attention. Right. Sometimes we go to the gun range and there's a particular gun range I don't go to anymore, which is what's it called? It's the one in Maryland, Maryland Small Arms, right? I don't go to that range because the people in the booth next to you when they're shooting sideways, like a gangster movie thing, they shoot outside the booth. It's so dangerous that I'm like, it's so convenient to get to, but I'm not shooting there because it's too dangerous. The people there just look too dangerous when they're shooting. They don't have really good control of their weapon, right? So you just have to know whatever space you enter, look around and say, oh, this person looks interesting, right? It doesn't mean that they are. You don't know for sure. You're making an assumption, but just take note of stuff, okay? All right. Sit in location with the best view of the entire space. Okay. As much as you can. Sometimes you can't, but do your best. All right. All right. When walking outside, right, to your car, to your home, pay attention to your surroundings. Are you looking down at your cell phone? Like, oh, this is interesting. You know, are you doing the Wordle for today or the whatever puzzle you like to do? Or are you scrolling through your Instagram? Or are you looking at who liked your comment on Facebook, right? Or are you looking to see, what Trump is doing, in DC today? Whatever. You're looking down on your phone. Focus. You're walking in the street, focus. All right. Do not put your head down. All right. Avoid distractions, right? Do you remember where you parked your car? This is a very simple thing. Again, I'm just giving you a very brief synopsis of what we go through in our situational awareness class, right? Do you know where you parked your car, right? A lot of times, this is what happens. This is when I forget where I parked my car, and it's not because I'm 57. Okay, that's a, that's my joke there. It's not because I'm 57. Every time I'm on my cell phone, when I get out of the car and I'm in a conversation, and I walk into the store, I forget where I parked my car every single time, right? And so what I've learned to do is this. Oh shoot, I always forget where I park my car. So when I get out, I say, I'm on my cell phone. So wait a second. I turn around. Either I'll use my cell phone to take a picture of where I parked, or I will mentally say, I am parked here. I look down at the store, and I'm between this column and that column of the store, or this exit and that exit of the store. That's exactly where I park. I say to myself, and then I continue my cell phone conversation, and I go into the store, right? And now I remember when I come out, I exactly know where my car is, right? So a lot of times, those who are our age set or older, we think we're forgetting where our car is because of our age. It's because we have not told ourselves where the car is. Okay? So tell yourself where your car is. And then do the same thing for other items in your house. Oh, I put my keys here. And say to yourself, this is where I put my keys. Right? And you'll be surprised how many things you remember when you do that. All right, cool. All right. Do you have a family plan? Right? Do your elders and children know what to do in an emergency? Right? We were in a survival camp. It's about one of Baba Nubian's survival camps we were at. It was years ago, and we were put someplace, and we had to figure out a way back to the campsite, right? And I remember we had two elders with us, and those two elders did not want to listen to any of our instructions at all. And there was about 30 people walking to get back to the campsite, and those two elders wanted to do their own thing, right? And it was difficult to try and say no, stay with the group, do this with us, and so forth. For that, they had a difficult time following us because they were elders and they had their own mind. And they, that's it. I'm doing my own thing. I don't have to listen to you guys, right? So, do your elders and children know what to do in an emergency, right? Are your children able to handle an emergency, right? So, what have you practiced, doing with your children, right? My wife, right, will take the grandchildren, and when we had our children too, we used to tie them up and get out of this. You're tied up. Figure out how to get out of this, right? And right now we'll tie the grandchildren up, and they have to figure out how to get untied, right, and stuff like that. So it's a game of fun, and stuff like that, right? So, have you drilled and practiced? What have you practiced? What have you drilled? Right? And if you have drilled how to get out of your own house, there's a fire. How do we get out of the house? Right? Which door to go to first? Right? Have you drilled that? Have you practiced that? Have you practiced waking up in the middle of the night and getting out of the house? Right? Have you trained your children to be street smart? Right? And Baba Tashango, one of my good buddies, he's also talked about having code words for your family. Right? If you say a particular code word, right? Let's say I say Haiti Cherie, right? I'm from Haiti. My children know, and my grandchildren know, and my wife knows what Haiti Cherie. Right? If I say Haiti Cherie, they were like, "Why are you saying that? You never say that." Right? But we said that. That's the code word. Right? That means there's danger around us. That means you have to be careful. Right? So whatever, do you have a code word for your family? Right? For your friends, we're in a situation right now. What do we do? All right. And I'm gonna bring you to those of you guys who practice a comb, right? During a combs, the drummers who know how to do drum text, right? Drum speech, they will drum something and they will communicate to the comfort. This is what's happening right now. Sometimes they'll say, watch out for this particular person right here, right? Oh, watch out for this. And they'll go back and forth talking, right? Sometimes the dance steps will indicate something, right? So there's a lot of ways to communicate. Are we practicing how we communicate in secret, right? So nobody else knows how we're communicating. It's really important. Okay. All right. Have you trained your children what to do in case of an attempted kidnapping, rape, or mugging? Right. Those are kind of tough conversations with our kids, right? But we have to do this, right? If you have daughters about to go to college, have you, trained them, right? This is all emergency preparedness, right? In case they might get raped or attempted rape, what do they do, right? Have you trained them to know when violence is the answer, right? Sometimes violence is the answer, and I'm quoting from a book called "When Violence Is the Answer," right? So, do you know when violence is the answer? When you must bring violence to the situation, right? Your emotions cannot dictate when you bring violence. You have to know, you have to practice to know when to bring violence. If you rely on your emotions to dictate when you bring violence, you're going to lose all the time. But you can bring yourself to a state, right? To an emotional state because you decided I need to bring myself to an emotional state to bring some violence, right? So you may have to call on a warrior deity. I need to bring some violence right now. Adadi, you know, Esur, right? Ogu, right? Esur Abena, right? Help me bring some violence right now. Okay? This is all have to do with emergency preparedness. You may want to call on one of the ancestors in your family that you know was a warrior. You may want to call one of our national ancestors who's a warrior and say, Nana Famulhamer, I need something right now. Nana Harriet Tubman, I need this right now. I need your energy right now to bring some violence. You have to know this, when to bring violence, right? This society, while it's violent on our people and violent on us on a daily basis, tries to teach us that violence is not the answer. And that's pure BS. Know when to bring violence. This is really important for emergency preparedness. All right. Do you know yourself, right? Do you know yourself in different environments? Do you know yourself at work? When you're by yourself, in your family, in your community with friends, in your organization, you are literally a different person in each of these environments. And this is very important. Like, for example, in Cobia, I'm part of the leadership. But at my job, I am not part of the leadership, right? That's really important, right? I have a different role, right? So in an emergency situation, I have a different role to play as a leader of an organization versus at work where other people are leaders, right? I've been in situations where um, I've been I've been in situations where people. I remember we had an emergency, you know, where we all gathered someplace. We had an emergency, and there was one person there that was not part of the leadership, but they were used to doing emergency preparedness courses. They were used to that, right? They were not comfortable following our instructions. And they put themselves in danger because they thought they knew what had to happen. But we knew the landscape, we knew the area. And we were like, we need you to stay here. And this person did not want to do that. And they put themselves in danger and they put ourselves in danger, right? Because all they could see themselves is that they knew best and that's it. You have to know when to be a leader and when not to be a leader. You have to know this. And do you have the capability of controlling yourself, controlling your emotions enough not to put yourself in harm's way because you cannot control yourself? All right. So know yourself. Okay. Know who you are. And this is important to practice. How do you know who you are? You got to put yourself in different situations that's going to test you. All right. You got to know. You got to know it. And I'll give you an example. We were training for something called Tough Mudder, right? This was about maybe 15 years ago, maybe. We were training for something called Tough Mudder. And so Tough Mudder is like this 10 to 12 mile obstacle course where it's like almost, it's created like by the armed forces, and you have to go through mud, jump over ditches and stuff like that, right? And we got about 20 people from the community, right, the DC community, to do it with us, right? And we in that within that you saw different personalities come out, right, when we were doing it, right? And for me myself, I learned something about myself too, because but after the first obstacle, there was an obstacle we had to jump over this mud pit onto this other mound, and I slipped and I landed on my side, right? And I'm like, oh crap, my ribs are killing me, right? And I was like, but I gotta finish. I'm one of the organizers of this of the group. I gotta go. I gotta finish. So I kept on going, right? And that evening, I went to the hospital, and the doctor was like, "What happened to you?" And I was like, "I was in this thing called Tough Mudder, you know." And he was like, "Well, your ribs are not broken; they're bruised, but they're not broken. You'll be okay." And he was like, "Crap, I'm doing that Tough Mudder thing tomorrow myself." And we started laughing, right? But what I know about myself, that I was able to still continue in pain, right? I was able to continue for another 2 or 3 hours, right? And then that Tough Mudder, you had to go through, they had these electrical wires hanging down, and you had to go through, what do you call that again? Like, it's not like barbed wire. You have to crawl underneath, and then these electrical wires, loose wires, are hanging down, and they will shock you. You know, so one or two of us got stuck there, just getting shocked over and over again, right? But it's testing your mental fortitude, right? And it's forcing you to work as a team with people you don't know, because not only do you have to work with the people in our group, right? But we also had to work and help other people in the Tough Mudder, because there's like a thousand people doing it, and you're helping everybody do it and stuff like that as you're going through the process. All right. So we purposely put ourselves in a situation which was difficult, that stressed us. That's part of emergency preparedness. All right. All right. So I put this link um, for Hand in Arms. Right. Many of you guys know Kofi. He does stuff locally, and he does also stuff outside of the DC area. He'll travel to where you are. If you have a group of like 10 people, whatever number of people it is, he'll travel there. But he's a phenomenal instructor, gun instructor. And so if you want to do gun training, go to Hand in Arms. Okay. I would say to you, absolutely. I don't care if you believe that it's all about peace, I shouldn't have a gun. But I'm gonna tell you right now, when everybody else has a gun and you don't have one, you got a problem, right? So if everybody else around you has a gun and you don't have one, you got a problem. So you need to be trained in a weapon, right? A gun, a knife. You need to get some kind of training, right? And you got to practice with this thing regularly. If you don't practice regularly, it might as well not be yours, right? And not only that, either you're going to hurt yourself or you're going to hurt somebody in your family, right? So you got to practice regularly, right? So I recommend to go to Hand in Arms. Is awesome instructor. Many of you guys in the DC area know Kofi. All right. BJJ, that's Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, right? Sanukis, that's Moses Powell's martial arts, right? There's an instructor here in the DC area. I don't have his website. Battle-based capoeira, you can go to the capoeira spot. That's the link right there. BJJ, there are many schools in the DMV area, and there are many schools in whatever area you're in. One thing about BJJ, which is really good, right? When I first started doing BJJ, it was from a friend of mine who told me about it. And I remember my first few classes, I had somebody 250 pounds on top of me, and I could not breathe. Not only do I have asthma, but I got a 250-pound dude on top of me, squashing me, and I can't. I'm trying to get out of the position. I can't breathe. Right? Slowly, I learned that all it was pressure on me. That's it. It's just pressure on my chest. I calmed down, and I learned how to breathe in the pressure situation. All right. So that's why I recommend BJJ, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, all right, because of the amount of pressure it puts on you, all right? Now, there's a side note. there's a beauty about feeling that kind of pressure, about feeling like somebody's trying to choke you out in practice, not in real life, but in practicing, and you're trying to figure out how to get out of the choke. When you come out of that class, right, you feel free. You feel like I have a weight off my shoulders, right? So that's a side benefit of doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But again, it's putting you in a stressful situation so you can practice dealing with stress over and over again. This is important. All right. Now, mind you, every single thing I'm putting on here, I've tried or I've done. Every single thing that I've put on here, I've done it and I've tried it. I'm not giving you anything that I have not tried. Okay. And even in the beginning, when I told you the 72-hour kit and stuff like that, what happened with those kits, we had those kits, but what happens is people forget about them. I forgot about mine, right? But the only thing you never forget about is who? Is yourself. You're always there, all right? So I started practicing, you know what? I don't have this with me. Can I use a blanket, my t-shirt to create some kind of tourniquet? Can I use to create some kind of make it be gauze to stop the bleeding? What do I have on me? What can I use on me to do anything I have to do? Right? For you to be able to figure out what you need to do, one, you should know exactly what you're doing to know how to improvise, right? And then you also need to know, right, I'm sorry, you also need to be calm in order for you to be to improvise. And we're going to go over that too. All right. All right. Farming. I'll be remiss if I didn't talk about farming because we talk about emergency preparedness, but nobody's farming. All right. Oops, sorry about that. There you go. But nobody's farming, right? Do you have your own food source, right? Or are you dependent on the supermarket, right? Now we're trying, it's difficult, but we're trying in our family to minimize our dependency on outside food sources. It is very difficult. But at least get some chickens if you can, right? If you live in an area and you can get chickens, get some chickens, or at least you get some eggs. Something happens, you can be eating eggs for 3 days. Okay? All right. At least you have that. Do you have access to well water? Right? So is your property in the city? Then you have to everything's city water. But if your property is not in the city, right? Do you have well water? Right? Right? With well water, you're not dependent on the city anymore. Right? That's important. All right. And I said you have chickens already. All right, cool. All right. And mind you, we have chickens here, and a lot of times people come to my house and say, "Oh man, you get free eggs." And I'm like, "There's nothing free about these eggs. You got to feed these chickens. You got to give them water. You got to clean the coop. Those eggs ain't free." All right. But again, it's worthwhile to at least attempt to be, self-sufficient to the extent that you can be. And I'm not saying that we have it down pat. We're not even anywhere close in our family to being there, but we're trying. Okay. We're in a position where we can try. All right. All right. So now let's get to the breathing techniques. Okay. But before that, any questions, any comments? All right. I'm assuming no.
No.
All right. Perfect. All right. Cool. Now we're going to go 4 breathing techniques. Okay. If you're if you are driving, this one you can try. The other ones you cannot try if you're driving. Okay. But this one you can try when you're driving. Okay. All right. The first one, this is like an emergency breathing technique. You need to figure out how to de-stress yourself ASAP, right? And so during my life coaching training, this is one of life coaches, one of the master life coaching, coaches taught me this technique and stuff. And it's 3 breaths, okay? And so you're in a situation, and we're going to actually practice this, okay? You're in a situation that you feel like you need to calm down, or you need to focus on something, you need to get angry, you need to be peaceful, whatever it is, whatever you need to manifest, this 3 breath technique will help you do it. So the first breath is, let's say you're having an argument with your friend, right? And you realize I shouldn't be having this argument, but I'm really heated. Remind yourself, I can breathe. So take one breath. You don't have to do om. You don't have to say peace. All you do is just breathe. Just breathe. Just take a breath. That's it. Right. The next thing, the second breath. On your second breath, you're going to do a body scan. You're going to scan from the top of your body all the way down to your toes. And you can, as you scan, if any place you feel a blockage, any place you feel tension, any place you feel like a knot, if your brain is overactive thinking, if your heart is pumping, whatever it is, you tell that part of your body, I need you to chill right now. That's in your second breath. On your third breath, right, you ask yourself, what do I want out of this situation right now? Right? So right now, let's say, right now, I don't want my way to occur. I want the creator's way to occur. Or I want to get angry right now. I'm not angry enough. I need to get angry. Or I need to be at peace right now. Or I need to say the nicest thing possible right now. What can I say that's so nice right now? Right? Or I need to not say anything right now because I want to talk. I want to say something, but I need to shut the up. Right? So that's your third breath. Right? That's your third breath. What do you want to occur right now that you control? That's in you. What do you want to occur right now? Okay. All right. So we're going to practice this. All right. So we're going to do the first breath first. Everybody, right? Just do your first breath. That's it. Just breathe. Ready? Breathe. That's it. Was that difficult? That had to be the easiest breath you ever took in your life. Right? Easy. Easy peasy. Just breathe. Did you have to sit down and put yourself in meditative posture? Nothing. No. Wherever you are, just breathe. Right? All right. That's your first breath. Let's practice the second breath. Now we're going to scan. On the second breath, we're going to scan from the top of the head all the way to the bottom to the feet. Ready? Let's do our breath and do the scan. Awesome. Very good. It happens that fast, right? And guess what? Nobody knows you're doing this. You could be sitting right in front of somebody and you do the first breath, nobody knows. You do your second breath, nobody knows. You're doing your body scan, nobody knows. You're just looking at them and you're breathing, right? And your third breath is what do you want right now, right? So let's do our third breath. Ready? And just think of what you want right now. All right. So now we're actually going to practice. I want everybody to think of a scenario that is bothering them. Think of a scenario that's bothering you. Okay. And you can make one up. You can think of an argument that you had, situation at work, whatever it is. Think of a scenario that is bothering you right now or that bothered you yesterday, right? All right, once you got the scenario in your mind, now we're going to do the three breaths, okay? All right, so breath one, breathe. Breath two, body scan. And then identify anything that's supercharged in your body, tense or anything like that. And then breath three, what do you want to occur at this moment? All right, very good. Cool. Now, comments. Anybody who tried it, please tell me what you felt during the first breath, second breath, or third breath. Tell me what experience that you had.
While we're waiting for comments to come in, I can share that it made me more aware. Belinda shares like air. Mona shared a sense of calmness.
Awesome, awesome. And practice the body scan a lot. That's really important, right? And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't work. And sometimes you do it and you forgot, you literally will forget the issue that you had, right? I remember I was driving and I was stuck in traffic and I was like, God, I'm gonna get late for whatever I'm going to. I said, wait a second, do your breathing technique. I did the first breath, second breath, third breath. And my third breath was, I don't have control of this traffic. I can't do nothing about it. So let me just chill. And I was like, had to be like 20 minutes later. I realized, oh, wait a second. I didn't even think about the traffic anymore. What happened? And I forgot to do the three breaths, right? And I'll give you an example. Somebody was taking an exam and I told them about the three breaths and they took those three breaths and when they were stuck on the problem and they were like, oh shoot, the solution came to me after the third breath, right? Now, how long does it take you to do these three breaths? Literally, how long did it take you? 10 seconds, 15 seconds, at most 20 seconds, right? So 20 seconds for three breaths. How many breaths do we take in a day? How many breaths? Somebody can Google that. How many breaths we take in a day on average? You can Google it. You don't have to know the exact answer. Just give me an average. How many breaths do we take in a day? Any answers?
Waiting for them to come in. I got, of course, a Googled, and it's approximately 17,000 to 29,000.
Very good. 17,000 to 29,000, right? And so now take three and over that number. That's a tiny fraction of the breaths that you take in a day. So imagine that you're really upset and you take these three breaths and you're able to calm yourself down. That means that in a fraction of the breaths that you take in a day, you have helped your body be less stressful. You have helped your body heal. You have practiced to be better in an emergency, right? In a fraction of the breaths that you take in a day, right? And somebody might say, wait a second, so you're saying something that small? Three over 17,000, three over 29,000 is a tiny, tiny number, right? But we know that tiny, tiny things can have massive effects on you, right? You inhale a virus, which you can't even see, and you're sick for 2 weeks. COVID, you can't even see COVID, the COVID virus. It killed a whole bunch of people, right? So something very, very tiny can have life-changing effects, right? And so three breaths is very tiny, but it can have a life-changing effect for you. All right. This is how important these three breaths are. All right. So if anything you forget today, three breaths is key. All right. It can change your life. All right. And it's not an infomercial. I'm not selling anything. Okay. This is free. There you go. You don't have to buy anything to take three breaths. I can't see if everybody's laughing or not, but I hope you're laughing. Okay. All right. We go to the next one. All right. 4-7-8 breathing. All right. Oh, there you go. We got laughter right there. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. All right. 4-7-8 breathing. This one, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. So this one right here, 4-7-8, right? I know some people don't like apps. I love using apps, right? I use an app for this one. It's called I Breathe. If you have what do you call it? An iPhone, it's called I Breathe. Just I Breathe. That's it. Look in the App Store. It might cost like $6 or $5 for the whole thing. That's it. It's literally simple. It's 4-7-8 breathing. That's it. All right. Where you're gonna breathe in for 4. You're gonna hold your breath for 7 seconds, and then you're gonna breathe out for 8. All right. Now, when you do this, at first you might feel like that's 7 seconds. I can't do it. I can't do that. I can't hold my breath for 7 seconds. All right. Number one, if you cannot hold your breath for 7 seconds, you better practice this a lot because everybody should be able to hold their breath at least 7 seconds. Okay. But in the beginning, it might feel like I can't do this, but you keep practicing it. This helps reset your nervous system. So you should try this easily. Start with 10 minutes a day, build up to 15, 20, stay around 20, 30, up to you. Whatever feels comfortable, but anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes a day is good. And it doesn't have to be every day. 3 times a week is okay. All right. I try to do a breathing technique every single day. I try to do one to help manage my asthma, right? To help myself be calm. And guess what they have found? That deep breathing techniques clears the brain of the plaque that causes Alzheimer's. Okay, I'm gonna repeat that again. Deep breathing techniques helps the brain clean out the plaque. So when you go to sleep, right? When you go to sleep, part of the reason why you need a good night's rest is that while you're sleeping, your brain is washing off the plaque and all the junk is washing it off while you're sleeping. So if you don't sleep enough, your brain doesn't wash this stuff off, the plaque off, and then you're more likely to have Alzheimer's. It's not a guarantee that you'll have Alzheimer's, but it's more likely, right? Just like if you smoke, you're more likely to have cancer, but it's not a guarantee that you're going to have cancer. There's people who smoke every 10 packs a day, never get cancer, right? But the idea of doing deep breathing not only is going to help you de-stress, manage stress in an emergency, right? It's also going to help you live a better life because it's going to help clean your brain off, right? Clean all that plaque off this off the sheathing of the nerves. It's really important. All right. So we're going to practice the 4-7-8 breathing right now. We're going to do 4 rounds. Okay. And I'm going to let you do it by yourself. All you're going to do, you're going to count in your head 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and 4 Mississippi as you're breathing in. And when you hold, so I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to show you. So I'm going to breathe in. And now I'm going to hold for 7 seconds. And now I'm going to breathe out for 8 seconds. And you repeat over and over again. Okay? So now we're going to practice right now. So I'm going to let you do 3 rounds of this. Okay? Everybody, take a deep breath in and then breathe out. Another deep breath in, breathe out. All right, let's get going. 3 rounds of 4-7-8 breathing. Go ahead and do it. All right. Very good. All right. Any feedback? Any feedback? When I usually do this, I do this with a group of like 10 people, and I can see all the cameras, or it's live in person and I can see everybody. And so, but it's hard for me to judge here what people are doing. 'Cause I can't see you guys. But anybody want to give any feedback, what they felt?
While the feedback is coming through, I felt a little lightheaded.
Yes, yes,
I think
yes,
maybe I need to do it more often, but I felt
yes.
a little lightheaded, especially holding the breath for 7 and then the breathing out for 8, considering that I took 4 in. So I did just immediately after the first like couple of times that I did it, I said, ooh, okay. So maybe I don't know,
No,
tired, perhaps. I don't know.
no. That's what happens, Mama. That's what happens. That's what happens with everybody I know. It happens to me too. Um,
Okay.
yep.
Well, Sachet said it was deeply relaxing. So
Here you go. Yeah. Oh,
uh so after the third set, Fodwa said she felt really relaxed after the third set. So we might need to do a few more. Let's see. Ali shares it resets your metabolism.
yes.
Mona shares she's been working on this technique for a couple of weeks and now she's gotten better with it.
Nice. Thank you, Mona.
And
That's awesome.
Shazette is all smiles.
Yes. Shazette, if you're part of Usal Set, Usal Set is like master meditators. You guys are awesome with the breathing stuff. This is really good. All right, but this is really good technique. Build up to it, right? And again, it's kind of you're kind of holding your breath for 15 seconds. It's a trick here, right? Because you breathe in for 4, then you hold for 7, and then you breathing out for 8. So it's like kind of like a 15-second breath hold, okay? But it's really good for you. It's really good for anybody who has asthma. It's really good for that too. Anybody who has any kind of breathing lung issues, this is really good for it too. Okay. And
And
again,
can I share that
hmm?
Robert shared that this is the experts who begin or use this technique uh, begin going into a trance. So I just wanted to lift that comment up. So
Ab- absolutely. Thank you, man. I use breathing techniques to do to I do something called awake awake dreaming, where I try to go in a dream state while I'm breathing, right? And to see what's happening and stuff like that. That's a whole different discussion. But yes, I think you're connecting to that, what I'm saying there. Yes, definitely. Right. But I use different kind of breathing techniques to put me in a different state. Yes. All right. And by the way, when you're doing deep breathing, you're connecting yourself directly to the source of life, right? Directly to the source of life. You're connecting yourself to the creator, right? And in some systems, right? In some of our traditional systems, God breathed life into you, right? The creator breathed life into you to bring you onto the earth, right? So you are literally reconnecting back to the essence of who you are. So I will also use breathing techniques when I have difficult situations. I will do a lot of breathing, and I don't even try to solve the issue in my brain. I don't even think about it. I just breathe, and that's it. And then I'll let the solution come out. All right? Because I'm telling them I'm going back to the creator. I'm going back to Odumakama. I'm going back to the essence of my who I am fundamentally, right? By doing my breathing. And at the same time, I'm getting ready for emergencies. Right? This is why this is gold. This is a gold mine. Right? You can't. This is awesome. All right, let's go to another one. All right, this one's a little tougher, right? But it's also good too. Okay, this is called. This is a yogic technique, right? They probably got it from Kemet, right? And I know Mama Eshe, Ifabola talks about who does Kemetic yoga. She doesn't live in DC anymore. When she used to do it, she was like, yeah, the all the yoga poses are on the walls of Kemet, right? And stuff for that. So I don't have the Kemetic name for it. I apologize, but I do have the Indian name for it, right? From India, right? Anuloma Viloma. Okay, I did yoga for many years and stuff specifically to train for my asthma, and I was doing yoga from my mother-in-law, who when my wife and I got married, she was doing yoga, and so and she had all yoga books, and I was like, oh, let me try it. I never tried this, and my wife and I started doing yoga together and stuff for that. But so I've been doing it. I've been doing yoga ever since. All right. So you can do a 1:4:2 ratio or 1:2 ratio is very easy, right? 4 count inhalation, 8 count retention, 8 count exhalation, except you're breathing different parts of it, different nostrils, right? So I'm taking my glasses off. So I have this finger right here and these 2 fingers right here, right? And these 2 fingers are free, okay? So my thumb is here. These 2 fingers are on the other side, okay? You can, some people will put their fingers over here near the third eye. It's up to you. You don't have to do that, right? Okay, so watch. So I want to breathe. I would start on my left side. You don't have to start on your left side, but typically you start on the left side. So I'm going to breathe in for 4. Now my right side will be closed off. My right side nostril will be closed off with my thumb. And I'm breathing in on the left nostril. Then I close off and hold my breath with the other hand, this right here, these 2 fingers. And I'm holding my breath for 8 counts. And now I'm going to breathe out of the other nostril where my thumb was, right? And I'm going to breathe out. For a count of 8. And I'm going to breathe back in again the same side for a count of 4. Now I'm going to close off and hold for 8. Now, that's that you keep going round and round and round. But we're not going to do 8, 4 today. We're going to do just 2, 2, 2. 2 seconds in, 2 seconds hold, 2 seconds out, 2 seconds in, 2 seconds hold, 2 seconds out, 2 seconds in. Okay? So you're going to breathe in. You're going to breathe in for 2 seconds, close, hold for 2 seconds, breathe out for 2 seconds, breathe in for 2 seconds, hold for 2 seconds, breathe out for 2 seconds, breathe in for 2 seconds, hold for 2 seconds. Okay? So you're gonna keep on doing that. And there's a, if you can look it up, alternate nostril breathing in Alzheimer's. There's a study that shows you alternate nostril breathing literally improve the cognition of Alzheimer's patients by just doing this for 30 minutes a day. Okay, I've been doing. I was doing a lot of breathing techniques for years. I fell off, right, and then I started redoing it again about a year and a half ago, right, and after doing it regularly, I started realizing, hey, I know exactly where things are. I wake up, I know exactly where to put my glasses. I'd wake up, I know exactly where my keys are. I knew exactly where I put my book. And I was like, why am I remembering things so well now? And I realized, oh shoot, I've been doing all these breathing techniques. Right? Now, mind you, I started doing breathing techniques since 21 years old, right? And I've been doing it off and on, but this is the most consistently I've done it over the past year and a half. It's the most consistent I've done it, right? Basically every single day. And part of the reason why is because I've been having sleep problems, right? And with my sleep problems, what ends up happening is I go to bed and I wake up 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm fully awake. I mean, I am like dead awake, right? At first, I was like binging on some Netflix show for 2 hours, and then I'd finally fall asleep again. And I was like, this is me binging on Netflix for 2 hours in the middle of the night is not helping. It's not even good for my brain. So I was like, I got to stop that. Then I was like, why don't I just breathe while I'm laying down? And I was like, you know what? Let me try that. And I said, oh my God, this is perfect. And that's why let me go look online. Can breathing while with insomnia, can the breathing help replace insomnia? And I found out that it can, right? And I found out that all the benefits that can happen that in terms of breathing, replacing the sleep, right? And my martial arts teacher in high school used to tell me that he gets 2 hours of sleep, but he would meditate and that'd be like he slept for 8 hours. But that was all the way back in high school. So what he told me in high school came back to me now, right? And so now I will literally wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'll tell you right now, I will lay down in bed and I'm breathing nice and slow. I don't fall asleep for 1 hour, and I'm breathing nice and slow. But now I'm no longer concerned that I'm not falling back asleep. I just breathe. So I'll breathe for 40 minutes, just laying down, just like this, laying in bed, just breathing, nice and slow. My body will go places, it will float places. I will have experiences, but I'm just breathing. I don't care. I'm not sleeping. Then after about 40 minutes or so, I don't time it exactly, but my body just tells me, okay, switch over. And so I switch over to a different breathing technique. Sometimes it'll be this one, sometimes it'll be 4-7-8, and then sometimes it'll be the next one I'm about to show you. Okay? But I'll do that for like another 30 minutes or half an hour. And then after that, if I don't fall asleep, I do something else called yoga nidra, which is a technique to relax your body while you're awake, but you're kind of like in a half asleep, half awake state, and you're following instructions of what to do in your body for about 30 or 40 minutes, however long you do the yoga nidra for. But you can look it up. It's called yoga nidra. That's yoga, like regular yoga, and then nidra, Nidra, yoga nidra. And you can look up yoga nidra online, and you can find different techniques and stuff for that. Okay, but I use all those techniques because I can't sleep, right? And then I wake up and I feel good and stuff for that. So anyway, all right, too much talking. Let's go practice this 1-2-2 breathing. Right, so everybody, right hand up, thumb on your right nostril, and put these two fingers, the pinky finger and the other finger, the ring finger next to it. You're gonna put it. You're gonna be ready, okay? So you're gonna breathe in for 2 on your left, hold for 2, breathe out for 2 on your right, breathe in for 2 on your right, hold for 2, breathe out for 2 on your left, breathe in for 2 on your left, hold for 2, breathe out for 2 on your right, breathe in for 2 on your right, and then breathe out regular. Now, what I usually do 4, 16, 8. So I'll breathe in for 4, hold for 16, I'll breathe out for 8. Then I'll breathe in for 4, hold for 16, breathe out for 8, breathe in for 4. And the 16, it takes a little while getting used to, you know. At first you feel kind of funny, but then you get used to it. And within, you start off with 2 breaths in, 2 breaths out, and 2 second hold. I'm sorry, 2 second in, 2 second hold, 2 second out, 2 second in. Start off with that and build up to a much higher breath hold. Okay. All right. There's a website down here. I put here. Arhantayoga.org, Anulam Vilom. Okay. Now, of course, there's an app for this that I use. Right. I like apps, right? So there's an app. It's literally called Anuloma Viloma. It's literally called this on the iPhone. I'm sorry if you have an Android. I apologize. I don't know what it is for Android, but if you have an iPhone, Anuloma Viloma, You just type that into iPhone and you'll see this app, and it'll do alternate nostril breathing, and you can actually set the breath hold, how much you want the breath hold for, and so forth. So it's a very nice app. Okay. All right. We'll go feedback afterwards. All right. Wim Hof breathing. All right. We're not going to try this one, right? But there's an app for it too, which I have, right? But you can go on YouTube and type in Wim Hof breathing, and they'll have it there. All right. So this is what Wim Hof breathing is. This is this white guy. He took this from yoga, right? He varied it and stuff for that. And I actually learned about this breathing technique when I was doing a breathing class for some brothers. And a brother in that class was like, "Have you done Wim Hof before?" And I was like, "I don't know. I've never done it before." And I said, "Let me try it." And I went and I tried it, and I loved it. It was like, "Oh, this is awesome." Okay. So Wim Hof, you're basically doing a series of fast breaths, and I'll show you right now. So it'll be like breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And when you're breathing in fast, but you're breathing into your abdomen and expand your chest, right? And you do it very strong, right? And you can do that for about 35 rounds, right? It depends on, you can do 25 rounds of that. On the last inhale, and you breathe out, you hold your breath. You do not take a breath in. When you after you take your last exhale, you hold your breath. And you hold your breath as long as you can. Do not do this while you're driving. Do not do this near water. Make sure you talk to a doctor first, right? And because you might pass out. I've never passed out, right? But this is a warning for just make sure, just be careful, okay? All right, but this technique right here is awesome. It resets a whole bunch of things in your body. When you hold your breath, right? And this one right here has a longer breath hold, right? If you go on YouTube, this start off with 30 seconds, 45 seconds next round, then a minute, and so forth, right? If you have the app, you can stop the breath hold whenever you want to. Okay. Some days, when I'm not feeling that good, I'll hold my breath for 45 seconds the first round, the next round be a minute, and that's tough, right? But when I'm feeling really good, right, in the morning is when I feel the best in terms of breathing. In the morning, I will do for 35 rounds of that, and then I exhale, and my last exhale, and then I breathe, in, and then give me 1 second. Yes, and then I breathe in. I'm sorry, I do my last breath, and then I hold my breath, and I hold my breath for a minute and 30 seconds the first round, and then I will breathe out and start. Then I hold my breath for 15 seconds, and then I breathe out, and I start all over again. And then I do that for 35 rounds, and then I hold my breath, and then the next round your body actually feels stronger, and I'll go a minute and 45 seconds. Then I go the next round, I go 2 minutes, and the next round I go 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And the most I've done so far is 2 minutes and 36 seconds, right? As my last round. Now, what does this do for you? Number one, again, what have I been saying this whole time? You're placing your body in a stressful situation, right? In a controlled, stressful situation. That means you're practicing your body to be stressed. So when an emergency comes up, you have practice being stressed, right? It's like doing push ups. If I ask you to do 100 push ups right now, you'd be like 100 push ups straight. Do 100 push ups straight. You're not going to be able to do it. At least 99% of you won't be able to do it. I know there's a couple brothers in here and a couple of sisters in here that will be able to do 100 push ups straight. I know that, right? But the majority of us cannot. But if you practice every day, right, and you build up to it, I say do 100 push ups straight, you'll do it like that, right? So when you practice putting yourself in a stressful situation, right? And breath holding is a stressful situation because I'm telling you right now, you're like, oh shoot, I gotta calm my body down right now. I'm holding my breath. 30 seconds has passed. 40 seconds have passed. Okay, my heart is feeling weird. My heart is feeling funny, right? I'm feeling different things. Calm down, relax. All right, it's okay. I'm okay. Oh, I'm at a minute and 40 seconds. I can still go. Relax. You got this. You tell yourself different things. And sometimes you put yourself somewhere else, right? Sometimes you send your body somewhere else. You send your spirit somewhere else while you're breathing through this. And you forget how much time has passed by, right? Sometimes you might get some shrine messages while you're doing this. All kinds of stuff happens, right? I've actually experienced what I would say is like, oh wow, I could see how the Chinese figured out all the different points for acupuncture. Because actually, when I was doing this one time, I actually started feeling meridians. Different. I was like, oh shoot, what am I feeling in my body? I was feeling it, right? But at the same time, so what am I doing? And then I am healing myself and I am practicing for emergency preparedness, right? And when I do this, I need my inhaler less. My asthma inhaler, I need it less, significantly less when I do this, right? There's other things too. When if you look online, what happens when you hold your breath for a minute? What happens when you hold your breath for 2 minutes? Right? Though your blood flow, the oxygen that your body has, your body changes where it goes. Right? And when your body is changing where the oxygen goes, that means that part where it goes is getting healed. Right? Because oxygen is key to your body healing. Right? Oxygen is key to developing muscles, everything. Oxygen is crucial, right? And so by doing this, you're healing your body, you're practicing being stressed in a controlled manner, you're managing your body, you're also managing your emotions. All these breathing techniques help manage emotions, all right? Sometimes you have to purposely tell yourself, oh, let me breathe and let me make sure I tell myself this will help manage my emotions. This will tell yourself this is going to help myself heal. Say that to yourself. It's so important what the intention you have, what happens to your body. All right. And so when we get to an emergency, you have practiced over and over again, placing yourself in a stressful situation. All right. All right, so we're gonna do final thoughts, and then we're gonna go into last questions and stuff like that before we close out. So number one, practice, 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 and then guess what? Practice some more. Okay, that's practice, practice, practice. Okay, all right. Never assume you know who will be a temporary enemy or an ally. Never assume that. Be like water. Water don't get enemy, right? Flow through stuff, right? Somebody that you might assume is some white boy racist dude may be your temporary ally. You never know, right? You never know. It doesn't mean that white folks are good and we should be buddy up with them, but that's why I said temporary ally, right? We have to learn lessons from history, right? In the Haitian Revolution, we temporarily joined the French, right? Temporarily. We temporarily sided with the British, right? To figure out how to win, right? So no, never assume who will be a temporary enemy or who will be a temporary ally. All right? Be like water. All right. So much more. Specifically, we have a lot of hands-on practice. This is a very short version of stuff. And then usually the breathing stuff, I do that in three hours, like 1 hour, and then another session for another hour. I do it over 3 weeks. Okay. Um, breathe, intentionally breathe, practice a lot of breathing. All right. All right. Learn to be alone for hours. Learn to be alone for hours. This is important. Okay. I do a lot of cycling. I bike a lot. All right. And so I went to Shenandoah Mountains and I went to do a 100-mile bike ride by myself, right? And it took me about 9 hours. It was very hilly, right? I went out. I went to Skyline Drive in Shenandoah. Went out 15 miles and came back 15 miles. I was like, oh my God. Some of my friends were like, did you have to figure something out? Did you have to work something out? I said, no, I just wanted to ride by myself, right? I went out. It was like literally, it took me like 8 hours and 58 minutes to do it. All right. And I'm about to do it again in a couple of weeks, right? By myself, because it's important to be able to do this by yourself. Be alone by yourself. Go take a walk by yourself. Go to the forest and sit in the forest by yourself for an hour, right? Learn to be by yourself. Okay. Next, challenge yourself, right? Challenge yourself to be better, to be stronger, right? Challenge your fears, right? Right? Look at what you fear. Look at what you don't want to do. If there's somebody that you're having a problem with, right? That you're like, I can't stand this person. Whenever I see this person, I can't stand them. That means you have a fear of that situation. That means figure out a way to make amends with that person. Figure it out. Challenge yourself. What's that going to do? That's going to help you prepare in an emergency dealing with difficult situations, right? That's challenging your emotions, right? Challenge yourself in every which way possible. If you're in a wheelchair, right, and you can't walk, well, you know what? You got arms. Get dumbbells. Do dumbbells. You can still breathe, right? When I do rites of passage, I'll tell the rites of passage boys, guys, I'm going to practice, learn while I'm alive. And when I go to the grave, I will still be practicing and learning. Even then, that's how much you got to practice and learn. You can never stop learning and practicing because whenever you stop, that means you have. If you stop doing that, the gift that the Creator has given you has been put to waste. Right? That gift that the Creator gave you has been put to waste until the Creator destroys you. Right? And I forgot to put this a proverb down that only the Creator can destroy you. Until the Creator destroys you. And I don't mean physical death. Until the Creator destroys your spirit, your cry, right? Until the Creator destroys that, that's when you can stop. Until then, you don't stop. You keep on learning, practicing, putting yourself in difficult situations to learn, right? To get better, right? And you're going to pass that on to the next generation also. So Medasi P, Medasi for listening to this. And please, if you have any questions, or comments, put them on the chat and stuff like that. And I'll stop the share.
All right. Wonderful. So if you have a question, we do ask that you put it in the Q&A box. Someone did ask just before, as people are putting in their questions, someone asked, is the Rite of Passage program in DC? If so, how can they get more information about it?
Oh, sure. Let me put it in the chat. So we have a boys' rights and a girls' rights, okay? So for the boys' rights, just send me an email at boysrights@uncobia.org. And if you have a daughter that wants to go through rights, you can send an email there, and I'll pass it on to my wife, who's the head of the Girls' Rights of Passage program for Encobia. I'm the head of the Boys' Rights of Passage program for Encobia. All right. So if you want to, again, boys' rights at encobia.org. And we're actually starting, we have an interest session, an orientation session about who's interested on August 23rd and September 27th. We're starting the next Rights of Passage line in October and stuff. So if you're interested, feel free to send an email at boysrights@encobia.org, and I'll pass it. If it's a girl, if it's a young girl, I'll pass it on to my wife. If it's a boy, then I'll deal with it. Okay.
Okay. Well, as we're waiting for question, well, actually, there is a question. It is there a device to measure VO2 max at home?
Not that I know of. There's they estimate, you can estimate VO2 max, and some of the watches that sports watches will estimate VO2 max. So I have this watch right here. It's a Garmin. My my family got this for my birthday. Right, couple years ago. So this gives an estimate of my VO2 max. So when I'm working out, it will estimate it and stuff for that. So that's one way. There are some labs that you can go to, and for like $200, they'll give you a test. They put you on a treadmill or whatever, and you have a different VO2 max for different things. So there's a different VO2 max for swimming. There's a different VO2 max for running. There's a different VO2 max for cycling and so forth. Okay. So my VO2 max for cycling might be awesome, but it may not be awesome for running because I haven't been doing a lot of running. Okay. But irrespective, if you have a good VO2 max in a particular discipline, it is very good for you. That means your body is handling oxygen much better.
Right. So I do have a few questions while people are bringing in their coming in with their questions. And the first one is kind of actually you touched upon it a little bit right before this Q&A, and that is about if you are in an emergency and you're by yourself, and let's say you have to be by yourself for let's say 3 days or so, what would you recommend in terms of having a person maintain their sanity in an emergency situations? We can think about COVID, and that was a lot for people, and that's when we still had like all of our pleasantries in terms of like TV and internet and our home. But let's say you're in an emergency, hiking in a car, um, the grid, like no electricity. What can you kind of touched upon it, but can you speak a little bit more about what one may want to start doing to prepare mentally and emotionally for something like that? And then I have a follow-up to that.
Sure, that's a very good question. And I'll tell you this, when I've been watching people who survive in ridiculous situations, like oh my God, like this one guy, he was hiking, he had fallen into it like this between these two rocks and his arm was stuck and he had to cut his arm off, right? And to get home, whatever. There's another guy, I think he was and I'm saying guys here because guys tend to get themselves into these stupid situations, I don't, anyway, but this guy, he was climbing the Himalayas, I think, or I forgot what it is, one of these big mountains, and there was a massive snow thing happening, and he crawled back to the main campground, um, and his nose, part of his nose froze off, some of his fingers froze off. And both of these situations, these guys survived. They asked him, what allowed you to survive? Right? And the main thing they said was their family, that they thought that they had to get back to their family. That was crucial.
Now
That
that's
made
great. Uh-huh. No, go ahead,
no,
please.
so that made me realize that do you have something greater than yourself that you're calling on, that you feel that you have to connect to, right? So in all these situations, people who connect to something greater than themselves, outside of yourself, family, the creator, right? Deity, something outside of yourself, right? The universe, whatever it is, that helps you survive in that kind of situation. It helps you survive in that kind of situation. That's the number one answer I would say, right? But again, practice doing this, right? That's what I'm saying. Like when you go to the shrines, when you go to do your praying, you're saying, let me practice, right? Asking the creator, asking my ancestors, How can I be stronger? How can I be tougher and stuff like that? Then practice going by yourself somewhere, right? Go camping. I mean, you don't have to by yourself, but go camping by yourself or go camping with two people or one other person. And you make sure you don't bring no cell phones there, right? And you spend 3 days camping, 4 days camping, and it's only you guys talking. That's it. Just conversation. That's it. That's my suggestion. You go by yourself or go with one other person if you don't feel safe and practice it that way. And think of something greater than yourself that you have to live for.
So you might have answered this question then, because the follow-up is what advice or suggestions would you give for someone preparing, emergency preparedness, but who have children or elderly people?
Yeah, so the same thing. It's like you have to have a clear plan. If you have somebody who's elderly and they cannot move, what is your plan to get that person out? Right? You may not be able to walk. So is your car ready for that? Ready to go at any point? Right? If you have to bicycle, do you have a carriage that you can put to the back of your bicycle and you can ride out somewhere? Right? Everybody's situation is going to be different, right? For your children, like I take my grandchildren on hikes, right? And one of my granddaughters, she was 2 years old. I forgot she was two. I didn't know she was two. I thought she was like 3.5 or something, right? And so we went on a hike in Rocky Park, and I was like, I'm not picking you up. You better get up and walk. So she was looking at me. And so I kept walking away with the other grandkids, but I could see where she was. I was watching her. But she couldn't see me because she thought I was going to come back and pick her up. But I'm keeping an eye on her, right? And she got up and she ran towards us at some point and she stopped crying. And we've gone on, I think we're on a 4 mile hike. And I don't realize that she's like 2 years old until we went to her birthday had come up and there was a birthday party and they put the candles on the cake and I was like, wait, I thought you supposed to put 4 candles. I'm like, no, she's turning 3. I was like, oh my god. But children are more resilient than you think, right? So my 2.5-year-old granddaughter was able to do a 4 mile hike with no issues at all. Baba Siddiqui's online. He has his son rucking, doing obstacle courses in the wilderness and stuff like that. Children can do a lot of this stuff, strong, sometimes better than us, and stuff. So I would say train your children to go with you on these things as much as you can and stuff. You know, when I went to the open water swim in National Harbor, say so the following week, so I said, "I'll come with you, Dad." And he tried it. He was like, "I ain't never do this again," but he at least he tried it. And stuff. So just work with your children as best as you can.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you that we have the time has flown by. And we have come to the end of the presentation. So I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening. And I do want to implore all of us to utilize whatever resources we do have to ensure that we are prepared for any emergency or as many emergencies we can best be prepared for. So again, thank you, Nana, for coming out. Of course, you see the wonderful hearts and claps and everything coming through, the love coming through the chat. So please, definitely, family, show our appreciation for our speaker tonight. I do want to invite everyone back out next month, September 17th. We will have coming in live from London, we have Robin Walker, who will be speaking on unlocking powerful Black history from ancient African art in London museums. So we have an international presentation next month. So we definitely know that we will see many of you all back then. And Nana Kwao, if you could just let people know how they can reach you. And if you have any final thoughts for the evening, we would love to hear them.
I don't have any. Yeah, just try your best. Never give up. Keep practicing. Don't get stressed out about what we're seeing happening here. Those are
Mm-hmm.
guys in DC. Just
Mm-hmm.
figure out. We can organize together. And figure out the best way to do it. Solve any of these issues that we're dealing with, right? And so we can't let them control how we're going to react. And they want
Mm-hmm.
they want us to react a particular way. We don't have to react the way
Mm-hmm.
they want us to react. So
Absolutely.
I put my Gmail on there, so you can send me an
Wonderful.
email on my Gmail. Okay.
All right. So, family, thank you all again for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next month. As always, you can go to ikgculturalresourcecenter.com to see the full 2025 Wisdom Wednesday schedule and register in advance for all of our programming. Thank you and have a great evening. Peace.